Hey and hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a car conversation. There's something that's coming to homeschoolers if you haven't discovered this already, and that thing is criticism, homeschool criticism. So I wanted to talk today about that and give you some advice and some ways that you can deal with being criticized as a homeschooler so that it doesn't penetrate your homeschool mom heart and affect you in ways that I think are not going to be beneficial for you. Let me give you an example. I, as a homeschool mom, it was, within a couple years we had been homeschooling, and I was interested in a conversation with somebody, and that person just out of the blue said a critical thing about my choice of homeschooling. And actually it was a couple critical things, and it just really took me by surprise. And that thing that they said, I hate to say this and I hate to admit it, really affected me for years. It was just a seed that was planted in my heart, and it festered over the years. It took away a lot of my confidence. So I want you homeschool moms to know how to battle that. Remember, criticism, nobody likes it. Nobody likes it, but so many people, freely give it. And the other thing is we all are really poor at accepting criticism. But the good thing is you as a person can control how it affects you. As homeschool moms, we really need to learn how to protect ourselves from it because there's so much of it out there. Those are some things I want you to think about. Other things I want you to think about are why people feel like they have to criticize homeschooling. So I think a lot of people don't know much about homeschooling because it's kind of a thing that really hasn't been around for very long, and it's very different from the normal. And I also think, I'm just going to say it straight out. I'm just going to say how it is. Sometimes I feel like people, they feel intimidated by us, they feel threatened, and so they think it's a reflection that they're not good parents. That may not be true, but that's what I have felt in a lot of my conversations with people that have brought up critical things about homeschooling. Okay, now, why do we as homeschoolers make such a big deal of the criticism? We are sometimes super sensitive to criticism. Why? Well, I think one of the reasons is because we ourselves are fearful. We ourselves are insecure about our ability to do this. And we have a little bit of trepidation. And so but we don't want anybody to know that, right? We don't want anybody to know that we are a little insecure in our abilities. And so when people are verbally saying those things, those fears, it hits right at our heart. We're sensitive to that. We are just sad and hurt when people don't support us. And homeschool families, homeschool moms, dads, kids, you know what? They don't need critics. What we need are cheerleaders. We need people to support us. That's what we need. And so when we don't get that from people, it really hurts. And it can deflate our spirits, stick in our minds and in our hearts. And we just have to be careful of that. Okay, so I want to talk about how we can deal with the criticism so that it doesn't affect us in a negative way and that our relationship with that person isn't ruined. Our relationships are at stake, especially if they're those close to you. So let's talk about this. You get these critical comments about homeschooling that are out of the blue. They can really shock you. So what we have to do is we have to know that we're going to get defensive. And we have to be watching for that. Because the second thing we have to do is we have to be good listeners. You're grabbing for bits of information to understand what they're truly saying. Because I want you to think about this in a way of there's going to be two conversations here, all right? The first conversation is going to be for the person that is being critical of us, and they're just spewing, right? And what you're going to do, you're just going to listen to it. You're not going to get defensive. You're not going to say anything, at least not yet. You're just going to listen. Now, when you do that, you are going to tell them by your actions that in the next conversation that you're going to have with them, they are going to need to listen to you and with the things that you want to talk about. How do you take the conversation now to this next second part? You find another time to have a conversation. You say something like, I hear what you're saying, and I really want to continue this conversation. Can we talk about this on, tomorrow or in a couple hours? I really do want to come back to this because I hear you, and I know that you have some concerns with homeschooling. That's why the first conversation is so important for you to be quiet and just to let them talk, because they will realize that that's what you did, and they will say, oh, I did do a lot of the talking. Now I guess I have to listen to them. It's kind of this take a turn kind of thing. So you're going to reassure them that you have been listening. But when you get to that second conversation, these are the things that you're going to do. First off, you're going to express your gratitude for them. You're going to say, you know what, thank you so much for bringing this up. I appreciate it, because that shows me that you care. And that will diffuse so many hurt feelings. Second thing, in a kind way, validate their fears and concerns. I mean, you can even share that you've had those same concerns and that has gone through your head. When you do that, again, you are disarming their defenses and you're setting the playing field in such a positive way that it's going to turn out good. Another thing that you may have to do, you may have to apologize. There may not be any need for apologies in some conversations, but if there is, apologize and genuinely be sorry for that. Take, for example, it's your mom and she is just super mad that you made this decision without talking to her about it. And so that's something that you probably need to apologize for. All right, another thing you should do is communicate with them that you want to be on the same page with them, that their support means the world to you. You're showing interest in their feelings and in what they think. Again, setting a really nice foundation for this conversation to turn out positive. Now, you finally get the chance, the next step, to say what you've been wanting to say. At this point, you've worked a lot. You have held your tongue. You have let them do all the talking. You have basically been humble and said all these things of gratitude for them. It's your turn now to clearly state that you disagree. And of course, you're doing it in a kindly way, but you're going to state your defense. What you want and the things that you desire need to be said. And if they aren't, you will hold resentment for that person. And you don't want to do that. So you tell them why you think homeschooling for you and your family is the right choice. So this is your chance now to share your why of homeschooling. And a lot of different personalities out there. There are some people, this is going to be no problem at all. And then there's some of us that it takes a lot for us to do this because we don't like conflict. This step is very important, that you get it right and that you do it in a strong, courageous, kind way. And then the last thing you do is you ask for their understanding and you ask for their support. You basically have laid out why you're doing it. You've been very courteous, you've been mature, you have done all the right things. And so now you are going to ask of them to be courteous back to you, to give you what you've given them. And that is support and kindness and understanding. And, you know, it could almost come to the point of just saying, you know what, let's just agree to disagree over homeschooling. That, you know what, I appreciate all of your caring and your worries, but I'm going to be okay because I feel really strongly about this. And so I think we just may have to agree to disagree. That is maybe something that you can end with. Now, when you have that moment of owning yourself and your desires and your wants after being criticized, there's nothing like that feeling. You know, there's nothing like it. And so don't skip out on telling them and asking them for their support. Lastly, consider your audience. You need to remember who it is that you're talking to. Is your relationship with them really important to you? Then you're going to have to do some work with it. But if it's somebody that doesn't really matter to you, don't really waste your time on that. Have one canned response, be done, and move on. Be ready for the criticism. Be prepared, but don't obsess over it. And don't worry about it too much. Good luck with everything. Love you, homeschool moms. We'll see you in the next video. Toodles. Yes, it's true. Sorry, that's a very, very noisy car. They're showing off, that's for sure.